fellow South Africans, good afternoon. Honorable Chairperson, we present an abridged version of Budget Vote 31 speech as a moral reckoning with the crisis of unemployment that continues to grip our country. It is a policy instrument for reform and an institutional roadmap for a department that must do more with less for more people. We meet amid the daily struggles of millions of South Africans who rise each morning with hope but without work. Young people who possess qualifications yet lack opportunity. Families who stretch every rand to meet basic needs. Workers who labor without adequate protection, voice, or dignity. We confront the hard truth of unemployment and inequality, which calls for us to account plainly and directly for where we stand. South Africa is not immune to global geopolitical instability. One of the more immediate risks lies in trade relations, especially with the United States, where uncertainty surrounds our continued participation in the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA. Should access to preferential trade be restricted, the impact would be felt deeply across key labor-intensive sectors, including steel, automotive, manufacturing, textiles, and agribusiness. These sectors employ tens of thousands of workers, many of whom are women, youth, and from the rural communities. Thus, the importance of a stable, equitable, and fair domestic labor market becomes even more critical. Labor laws remain a central defense, ensuring decent work conditions, protecting vulnerable workers, and supporting business continuity amid uncertainty. Emerging from a history in which the majority were denied dignity, decent work, and protection in the workplace, the labor laws of this country have undergone significant transformation. They are now structured to create a fair, dynamic, and harmonized labor market that supports inclusive growth and economic transformation. These laws respond to evolving work arrangements, emerging technologies, and persistent inequalities. During the 2024-25 financial year, the department promulgated 3 regulations: explosives, physical agents, and noise exposure. Further, we published the construction regulations for public comments. These seek to align occupational health and safety laws with Constitution, promoting fair labor practices, and ensures coherence with related statutes such as the Labor Relations Act and the Mine Health and Safety Act. The national minimum wage has raised income levels for many low-wage workers, including domestic workers, farm workers, women, and youth. It has supported household livelihoods and local economic activity. The department is advancing the National Labour Migration Policy and the Employment Services Amendment Bill. These instruments regulate access to employment in a fair, transparent, and rights-based manner. The approach promotes local participation while observing international obligations. I'm pleased to confirm, Honorable Chairperson, that the National Labour Migration Policy has been approved by Cabinet. The Employment Services Amendment Bill was also approved by Cabinet for submission to Parliament. This provides a legal framework to regulate the employment of foreign nationals and addresses misuse by labor brokers and the exploitation of undocumented foreign workers. Honorable Chairperson, structural inequality in the workplace remains evident in employment equity data. Despite a robust legal framework, transformation has progressed slowly since the dawn of our democracy. The recently published 24th Commission for Employment Equity Annual Report indicates 62% of top management positions are occupied by white South Africans. Women hold 26.9% of top management and 37.7% of senior management positions. Persons with disabilities only make up to 1.2% of the workforce. These figures show continued exclusion of many qualified South Africans from full economic participation. Addressing this is essential to building equity and promoting social and economic development. The department continues to invest in new labor market research to ensure labor market policies aligned with real-world developments. In 2025-26, research focus will be on the effects of the platform economy, including gig work and on employment patterns and worker protection. The application of equal pay for work of equal value, which remains a challenge in various sectors. The use and outcomes of employment equity tools, including codes of good practice and sectoral guidelines. Conditions of decent work in the hospitality sector where informality and vulnerability remain common. The reported dominance of the higher education and training sector by foreign nationals. Contributions of demand-led sectors and the informal sector to job creation. This budget is aligned with the national priorities outlined in the Medium-Term Development Plan 2024 to 2029 under the Government of National Unity. Every line item in this budget has been crafted to reflect the strategic imperatives of the 7th administration, as led by His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, with a focus on ensuring labor market interventions contribute directly to tangible social and economic outcomes. One of the department's critical instruments to achieve this is the National Employment Policy, which is at advanced stages. This policy sets out a coordinating framework to align various policy instruments that promote employment growth. The NEP calls for a paradigm shift toward better policy coordination that enhances firm productivity and job absorption capacity, supported by macroeconomic, industrial, and skills development policies. It promotes stronger public employment programs by supporting both market and non-market forms of employment to convert socially necessary but unpaid work into viable earning and learning opportunities, upholding the principle that everyone who wants to work should have the opportunity to do so. Working with the private sector through the government business platform, we are intensifying coordination and collaboration for jobs drive, including creating opportunities for those in need for on-the-job training or experiential training. We'll be accelerating the vital work of the National Pathway Management Network, coordinated in the presidency and operationally managed by Harambee. Notably, the South African Youth Platform, which forms part of this network, has registered over 5 million young people and placed 1.57 million into earning opportunities, 70% of whom are women. These are not mere statistics. They reflect concrete outcomes, households supported, futures stabilized, and resilience built. Aligned with our 5-year strategic plan and 2025-2026 APP, the department has set a target of creating 2 million jobs by 2030 through an integrated employment agenda. Unemployment in South Africa is a crisis. As of the first quarter of 2025, the official unemployment rate stood at 32.9%, with youth unemployment at an alarming 62.4%. These figures speak to the urgency of placing employment at the heart of national development. We are building a whole of government, whole of society approach to employment, one that is inclusive, strategic, and accountable. No job creation effort, whether in the infrastructure, public works, industrial policy, or the social economy, should exist in isolation. The department will ensure all efforts are connected and directed toward common outcomes, particularly for youth, women, persons with disability, and the long-term unemployed. The department plays a central role in shaping the labor market through regulation, social protection, job placement, and institutional development. In a constrained fiscal environment, we are guided by realism, though not deterred by limited resources. Instead, we are responding with innovation through reprioritization, institutional redesign, and administrative reform. For 2025-26 financial year, the Department of Employment and Labour has been allocated 4.153 billion rand, distributed as follows: 1.598 billion rand for compensation of employees enabling core service delivery by funding inspectors, career counsellors, client service staff, and provincial managers. 694.789 million rand for goods and services covering critical operations, ICT tools, and stakeholder engagement that drive daily functionality. 1.738 billion rand for transfers and subsidies supporting key partnerships with CMA, Productivity SA, Netlec, and civil society actors involved in employment activation. 121 million and 33 for capital assets financing digital infrastructure upgrades, and modernization of labor centers and satellite offices. Major social protection interventions will be delivered through the Unemployment Insurance Fund and Compensation Fund. In 2025-26, the UIF will manage 38.4 billion rand with 19.2 billion rand for direct benefits. Over 10.98 billion rand is allocated to labor activation program, targeting 240,000 placements this year and 690,000 over medium term, half of which are reserved for youth, women, and persons with disability. An additional 1.4 billion rand is allocated to the TER scheme to protect jobs in distressed companies, while 55 million rand will fund the business turnaround program to assist 80 companies and save 3,750 jobs. To boost efficiency, 1.13 billion rand is committed to digital transformation, including biometric verification and integrated claim system. 17 mobile buses will extend UIF access to less serviced areas. The compensation fund is allocated 1.6 billion rand for pensioners and injured workers, 5 billion rand for medical claims, and 1.85 billion rand for capacity building, supporting digitization, medical staffing in provinces, and outreach to vulnerable workers. In strengthening the institutional capacity, as of mid-June 2025, over 79% of funded vacancies have been advertised, and we aim to reduce the vacancy rate to 12% by year-end. The focus is on post-critical to service delivery, labor centers, operations head, inspectors, career counselors, and frontline staff. In parallel, we are modernizing the department's digital ecosystem. Bandwidth upgrades have been completed at 16 priority sites. New data centers and ICT infrastructure are being rolled out to support digital transformation at the UIF and CF. The department is shifting toward cloud-based architecture and preparing for digital-first service delivery. The department has provincial footprint in all provinces with regard to services and support we are providing to the citizens of our country. Honorable Chairperson, our department continues to deepen its presence across the country to bring services closer to the people, particularly in historically underserved and rural communities. Nationally, we operate a total of 793 service points, including 125 labor centers, 33 satellite offices, 443 visiting points, 39 Tusong service centers, 133 kiosks, 7 employment youth centers, and 13 mobile offices. The provinces with the largest reach include Western Cape at 123 service points, Eastern Cape at 113, the Northern Cape at 106, demonstrating our commitment to ensuring that no citizen is left behind in accessing labor market services. Honorable Chairperson and members, through our inspection and enforcement services, the department is intensifying efforts to uphold compliance with labor legislation. In the current financial year, we have set an ambitious national inspection target of 298,104 inspections, covering the Employment Equity Act, Basic Conditions of Employment Act, and National Minimum Wage Act, Occupational Health and Safety Act, Unemployment Insurance Act, and the Compensation for Occupational Injuries and Diseases Act. Provinces such as KZN with 63,720 inspections, Gauteng with 61,236, and Eastern Cape with 31,884 are leading in enforcement efforts. In parallel, for our public employment services, targets reflect our commitment to activating the labor market. We aim to register 1 million work seekers, fill 70,000 opportunities, and offer 270,000 counseling sessions across all provinces. Notably, Gauteng, KZN, and Eastern Cape are expected to account for the highest number of registered work seekers and placements. These figures demonstrate our comprehensive approach, ensuring workplace compliance, expanding access to employment, and protecting the rights and dignity of every worker. Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, Budget Vote 31 is a policy stance affirming that even under fiscal strain, we'll honor our duty to deliver public value with urgency, clarity, and measurable outcomes. Let us be remembered, not for the challenges we inherited, but for the solutions we executed. This budget reflects a state that is working visibly, efficiently, and ethically for its people. I present this budget vote 31 to this House. Let us use it as a lever of delivery, inclusion and renewal. Let us move forward with purpose, with unity and with resolve to leave no worker behind. I thank you.
We thank you so much, Minister, for a well-delivered budget speech. We are now proceeding to the next speaker, which is Honorable Boshoff, the chairperson of the Select Committee on Economic Development and Trade. Over to you.
Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Minister, DM, Honourable Members and fellow South Africans, good afternoon. And hello to my esteemed members from the NA up in the gallery. As Chairperson of the Select Committee on Economic Development and Trade, I rise to speak on Budget Vote 31 with the seriousness and responsibility this moment demands. Let me state clearly the majority of committee members support this budget vote. However, Minister, support does not mean blind endorsement. It comes with expectation of accountability, delivery, and meaningful change. The Department of Employment and Labour carries one of the most critical mandates in government, especially in a country where unemployment remains staggeringly high, poverty deepens, and opportunity feels increasingly out of reach. This is not a time for empty promises, Minister. It is time for honest reflection, constructive oversight, and clear expectations. Chairperson, let me turn to the APP and the strategic plan for this department. For 2025-2026 financial year, the department is allocated 4.153 billion, of which 1.598 billion goes to the compensation of employees, 694.7 million to goods and services, 1.738 billion to transfers and subsidies, and 121 million to capital assets. The Public Employment Services Program receives 900 million, aiming to register 1 million job seekers, provide 270,000 employment counselling sessions, place 70,000 job seekers in jobs, and create 152,000 temporary opportunities through the Presidential Youth Employment Initiative. Chairperson, these initiatives are welcomed, but they must not stop at temporary relief. We must see to it that our people are connected to permanent, meaningful work. The Inspection and Enforcement Services Program, with 2.1 billion over the MTEF, targets nearly 1 million workplace inspections, which are indeed necessary. I'm glad the DM is listening. The recruitment of 20,000 young inspection interns alongside the national rollout of the Disability Employment Subsidy to 2,500 persons with disabilities are welcome signs of inclusion. However, Chairperson, inclusion must then also extend to the supported employment enterprises. Chairperson, the committee notes that 94.75 million has been allocated to the supported employment enterprises, a critical program designed to create meaningful opportunities for persons with disabilities. While we welcome this allocation, an honest concern must be raised. The current funding and support for SEEs are not yet sufficient to unlock their full potential. These enterprises have capacity, they have skilled workers, and they have a mandate, but they remain underutilized and largely excluded from public procurement opportunities. The committee therefore calls on the department to develop a clear strategy to strengthen SEEs, integrate them more effectively into supply chains, and ensure they are positioned as a flagship of inclusive employment and not left on the margins. This opportunity, Minister, may not be missed, as it is a pathway to champion inclusive employment. Chairperson, while NEDLAC's direct oversight resides with the Portfolio Committee on Employment and Labour, we recognise its important role as a social dialogue platform under this department, and we trust that the department will continue to strengthen its support to ensure NEDLAC remains a credible and inclusive forum for engagement. Now, the controversial one. On transformation, Chairperson, the committee recognises its undeniable importance and the need to advance it in a manner that is both fair and effective. Chairperson, the committee acknowledges the essential importance of transformation and the intent behind the amendments to the Employment Equity Act, which, inter alia, will from August 2025 see the placement of new demographic targets on businesses, including those that are small and medium enterprises. During our engagements, however, concerns were raised by some of the members that there is no clear skills pipeline to help businesses meet these targets, that support mechanisms are limited, and that there is insufficient flexibility for varying local conditions. It has been emphasised that transformation cannot be driven by penalties alone. To succeed, it must be enabled through investment in skills development, meaningful engagement, and practical support, ensuring that inclusive job creation remains the shared goal. Chairperson, the Auditor General's findings paint a troubling picture for this department. Unfortunately, not me speaking, but the AG. 107 million in irregular expenditure at the department. That's shocking. Weak internal controls at the UIF and a disclaimer of audit opinion at the compensation fund, with material losses, fraud risks, and ineffective systems. These issues, Honourable Minister and DM, strike at the heart of public trust and financial integrity. On the institutions underpinning our labour market, we must also be vigilant. Chairperson, I wish to note for record that the UIF is projected to manage 38.4 billion in the 25-26 financial year, including 19.2 billion for direct benefits, as well as substantial allocations for the labour activation programs, for the TERS funds, for turnaround support and investments in digital and mobile infrastructure. Minister, here, however, I wish to appeal to you that hopefully any future investments will not follow the same path as the failed investments at Daybreak, where we saw 800 million, of which 400 million from the UIF and 400 million from the compensation fund being invested, effectively amount to employee monies down the drain, because nobody knows where that 800 million is. Chair, we are also scheduled to engage with the UIF on 23 July 2025, where the committee will have the opportunity to assess its annual performance plan and its strategic plan, and to exercise our oversight role regarding the application of contributors' funds and the delivery on its mandate. In addition, Chairperson, the Compensation Fund is another key entity under the department, playing a vital role in supporting workers injured on duty and their families. For the 25-26 financial year, the fund has been allocated 1.6 billion for pensions and benefits, 5 billion for medical and related claims, 1.85 billion for capacity building initiatives, including digitization, provincial medical staffing, and outreach to vulnerable workers. Well done. These allocations reflect the department's recognition of the Compensation Fund's important mandate. While the fund's strategic plan and APP have not yet been presented to this committee, I note this today not for debate, but simply to acknowledge the fund's significance within the department and to highlight that the committee looks forward to engaging with the fund in due course. This will allow us to ensure that these resources are effectively utilised to serve injured workers and claimants and to strengthen accountability and service delivery in line with our oversight responsibilities. Chairperson, while I recognise that we are not debating the UIF or the compensation fund specifically today, it is important to highlight that these entities are integral arms of the department. Their governance, their financial health, and delivery directly affect millions of workers and employers, and it remains our committee's duty to hold them to account. Chairperson, within the department's 25-26 transfers and subsidy vote of 1.738 billion, the CCMA is among the key institutions supported, namely NEDLAC, Productivity South Africa, and others, as mentioned by the Minister. The CCMA has demonstrated strong performance in 24-25, meeting 90% of its targets, serving over 208,000 users, achieving full client satisfaction and delivering a substantial surplus. However, and now this is the crux of the matter, it continues to face financial constraints and longer turnaround times, with average case resolutions going down, which now stand at around 120 days. That's not on. Thank you for the acknowledgement, DM. The committee remains committed to oversight of the CCMA's funding, performance, and service delivery to ensure it continues to serve workers, employers, and our broader labour market efficiently. Chair, oversight visits have shown us what's possible. In our June 25 oversight to the province of the Free State, a visit to the Bethlehem Labour Centre, the committee observed efficient service delivery, modernised IT and case management systems, and a highly committed staff complement, a clear example of what is possible when good governance and resourcing come together. However, Minister, in other labour centres across the country, it has been found that they operate with broken infrastructure, outdated systems, and long queues, a reminder that good service cannot be the exception. Following the deliberations during meetings, the committee makes the following recommendations. Implement a turnaround strategy for the UIF and compensation fund with proper audits and accountability. Strengthen partnerships with the private sector to create sustainable jobs. Ensure digitization is paired with reskilling and training so jobs are not lost. Replicate best practice models like the Bethlehem Labour Centre across provinces. Enforce consequent management where audit failures persist, and fast-track outstanding labour legislation, including COIDA, the BCEA and the LRA in a timely, consultative manner, because it's been under Programme 4 for many, many years. Chairperson, we acknowledge the progress made and the fact that the majority of committee members support this budget vote. But let us be clear, South Africa's unemployment crisis will not be solved by outdated systems, rigid policies, or short-term fixes. Chairperson, the work of the Department of Employment and Labour touches the lives of millions, from young persons searching for their first job, to the injured worker waiting for payout, to the employer seeking fair and clear labour guidance. But for too long, trust in this department and its entities has been eroded by delays, inefficiencies, and unmet promises. If we are to rebuild that trust, we must turn this department around, not through slogans or symbolic reforms, but through decisive action, transparent systems, and consistent delivery. The people of South Africa are not asking for favours. They are asking for a government that listens, a department that works, and institutions they can believe in again. Minister, the time for rebuilding that trust is now. The committee is ready to work alongside you in the department to ensure the hard work ahead delivers real results for the people of South Africa. Chair, in closing, please afford me the opportunity to thank the committee members for their robust and constructive engagements, and then also, last but not least, the committee officials for their support, their dedicated support this past year. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Boshoff. I'm now calling upon the next speaker on my list, Honorable Modise.
Honorable Chairperson, Refilem Mutsoini, Deputy Chair, Governor, Honorable National Shop Steward, Honorable Deputy National Shop Steward, Honorable Chairperson Ryder and Khatebe, Honorable members and the people of South Africa. Today I rise on behalf of the mighty African National Congress to lend my voice in the support of Policy Budget Vote 31 of Employment and Labour for the fiscal year 2025-2026, a critical instrument through which our government commits to the fundamental goal of reducing unemployment and creating a more equitable, just and inclusive society. This budget is more than fiscal allocation. This budget is more than fiscal allocation. It embodies the ANC unwavering resolve to address the socio-economic challenges that have persisted for decades and to advance the priorities articulated in the State of the Nation address. Our commitment is clear. We are dedicated to build an economy that works for all South Africans, especially those who are grappling with remnants of apartheid-era economic disparities. Honorable Chair, South Africa faces a persistent and deeply entrenched unemployment crisis, with the latest figure currently at 32.9% as of the first quarter of 2025. This reality threatens the stability of our democracy, hampers economic growth, and undermines social cohesion. It is within this context that the importance of strategic focus and well-resourced employment policy becomes evident. The specific measures contained within the budget are designed to confront these challenges head-on, aligning with the broader national agenda to stimulate economic growth, foster industrial development, and promote social justice. Despite such hurdles, House Chair, we commend the department's commitment to job creation, including the set target aim of generating 2 million jobs through initiatives such as Unemployment Insurance Fund, the National Pathway Management Network, and the Public Employment Services. Furthermore, we welcome the notable achievement of over 200,000 jobs created across various schools, revitalizing roles such as educational assistants and general assistants. This initiative, now funded by the Department of Labour and Employment via the Unemployment Insurance Fund, and represent the largest youth employment program in South Africa's history. Such efforts are vital in addressing youth unemployment and fostering sustainable economic growth. Honorable Chair, the objectives outlined in this budget are in harmony with the priorities outlined in the State of the Nation address, which highlights the pressing need for job creation, revitalization of industries, and the empowerment of our citizens through skills development. The State of the Nation address underscores that we must accelerate infrastructure development, support small and medium enterprises, and ensure that workers' rights are robustly protected. That emphasis on inclusive growth and social protection reflects the core ANC policy stance, and I stand in firm support of these commitments. One of the key pillars of this budget is the expansion of labor activation program, which has the potential to transform the landscape of employment in our country. Through tailored reskilling initiative, it aims to address skills mismatch and to provide meaningful pathways into employment for the unemployed, particularly in the provinces of Northwest and Eastern Cape, where unemployment rates are highest and rural poverty is most severe. The relevance of these initiatives is undeniable and directly tackles the structural barriers that trap many communities in cycle of poverty and unemployment. By fostering local demand-driven training that is aligned with regional economic realities, we can promote sustainable employment, reduce dependence on social grants, and ultimately uplift the entire communities. The deployment of labor activation programs efforts is coordinated through various sub-programs, including the support for distressed businesses via the turnaround solution programs and temporary employee relief scheme, which receive allocation of 4.6 billion to support employee retention. The sector that has benefited from the labor activation program require ongoing support from Productivity SA to ensure that productivity levels are maintained and improved. By enhancing the productivity, these companies can expand their operations, increase efficiency, and ultimately more employment opportunities created. Supporting these businesses is essential for fostering regional development, as increased productivity can stimulate local economies and contribute to sustainable growth across different provinces. This coordinated approach will help drive economic resilience, promote industrial excellence, and ensure that the benefits of programs translate into tangible improvements in employment and regional development. Honorable Chair, in the pursuit of economic empowerment, this budget further emphasizes the importance of strengthening partnership with local industries and sectors. The recognition that job creation must be rooted in regional strength and opportunities guides the strategic approach to labor and industrial policies. By working closely with such sectors as agriculture, manufacturing, tourism, and emerging industries, we can develop training programs that meet actual market demands, thereby increasing the likelihood of employment absorption. Don't worry, Honorable Zulu, I am not coming for the MK. This demand-driven model embodies the ANC's policy inclusive growth, supporting local enterprises, fostering entrepreneurship, and leveraging resources to generate employment. Moreover, House Chair, support on sustainable small business development and community-based employment projects remains very fundamental. This is so because such initiatives are crucial in rural areas where formal employment and opportunities are of limited opportunities. Therefore, small enterprises serve as engine of job creation. They stimulate local economies and empower individuals to take control of their livelihoods. At the same time, these measures bolster social cohesion and reduce regional disparities, aligning with objectives of the ANC of building resilient and inclusive communities, Honorable Pina. The importance of fair labor practices and social protection cannot be overstated. National Shop Steward, we note and acknowledge the Project 20,000 that seeks to enhance the work of the inspectors. This proactive stance is critical in combating exploitation, unsafe working conditions, issues that continue to undermine worker dignity, and social justice. Campaigns aimed at educating workers about their rights, coupled with strict enforcement, strengthen protections, and ensure fair wages are paid. Such measures aligned with democratic principles enshrined in our Constitution. The protection of workers' rights and the promotion of decent work, particularly farm workers and domestic workers, is extremely important to us. This commitment to accountability and continuous improvements reflects our focus on effective and result-based management. While acknowledging these proactive measures, we must also recognize the challenges that remain. 1, structural constraints. 2, economic uncertainties. 3, global disruption poses significant hurdles. The strength of this budget lies in the holistic approach, combining skills development, support for local industries, fair labor practices, and social cohesion to forge a resilient path forward. It emphasizes collaboration among government departments, labor unions, business sectors, and civil society. Hence, the national dialogue remains very fundamental, Honorable Badenhorst, in ensuring this realization. This collective effort is essential if we are to realize the full vision of employment and social upliftment coupled with inclusive economic growth. As we move forward, guided by the priorities of the State of the Nation address and our steadfast commitment to the principle of equality and social justice, let us remember our shared prosperity depends on our ability to act decisively and compassionately. The future of our nation rests on the foundation we lay today, foundation built upon opportunity, empowerment, and hope. Chairperson of the session, we must also address the elephant in the room. It is said that the deepest sin against human mind is to believe things without evidence. For too long, the Democratic Alliance has taken this podium to advance lies, lies that they themselves have become to believe to be true. Chairperson, lie number 1 is that the DA believes that they are in grand coalition with the ANC or that they are co-governing with the ANC. The reality is that they are mere partners of the government of national unity led by the African National Congress. And in fact, Chair, I think it is time that we replace Honorable Badenhorst with Honorable Farmer. Western Cape will be covered, and replace Honorable Mokai with Honorable van den Berg, and Northern Cape will be covered to show that they are not leading with us. Chair, cadre deployment is done across all political parties. And we are all here seated today because we have been deployed as cadres by our own political parties. Unless, of course, DA does not understand what is the meaning of cadre deployment. 3, when the ANC deploys you to a position of responsibility, it means you as a president, deputy president, minister, deputy minister, premier, or mayor, you are a deployee of the ANC to serve that constituency that you are deployed to. You are not a deployee of the ANC to serve ANC members. So there's no DA minister that's supposed to serve DA members. It's a minister deployed by the DA to serve the people of South Africa. What the DA is doing, calling people DA ministers, simply means where they govern, they serve DA constituents, and they don't care about Kylie, Nyanga, and everyone else. But the real reason, Chair, the DA hates cadre deployment so much is because of the following. 1, the Premier of Gauteng, Panyaza Lesufi, the Premier of Limpopo, Popira Matupa, and the Premier of Northern Cape, Zamani Sol, and all of other premiers are all university graduates. Now tell me, which university did the Premier of Western Cape graduate from? Allen Windy. No university. Yeah? The only thing he has is matric. As if that's not all, Chair. ANC cadre deployed, Joe Maswangai, Poppy Bushielo, have just recently graduated with their PhD. What does it mean? It means from NQF level 1 to NQF level 10, they finished all of them. Now tell me, Chair, which university did Minister Stenesen graduate from? And this is a deployee of the DA. I have asked, Chair, almost everyone who is a lawyer, if it is possible that you can serve articles without a law degree. And all of them in unison agrees, Honorable Boshoff, that you can never be able to serve articles without a law degree. However, Natasha Mazioni claims to have served articles, but she has no law degree. The last lie, or the second last lie about the DA, they claimed not so long ago that they are going to walk away from the GNU after their deputy minister was recalled. Up until today, we're still waiting. What they are doing now, they are telling us that they will not be part of the national dialogue, as if they are important to be part of that. If you have time, just check the Minister of Agriculture in July 2024 against July 2025. He's now thick, the cheeks are shining, the neck is so visible because he's now enjoying the perks of being in the executive. They are lying, Chair. They are not going to leave government of national unity. It's just not possible. The last one that makes the DA hate cadre deployment because they're unable to deploy those who've got skills and the capacity is that Solim Simang, when he was the mayor of the DA, because he's never a mayor of anyone but the DA, when he was a mayor of the DA in Tshwane, together with Silas Brink, this is what they did. They deployed a lady by the name of Ocamp who forged qualification because he had nothing. She did not have anything, but she was deployed as a chief of staff. Imagine, the second to that is that they deployed a fellow by Stefan de Villiers, a bodybuilder by profession, who only had matric as an executive director. When these things were exposed because they are white, they were push under the carpet. After Solim Simang, guess who they deployed? And the mayor that came after Solim Simang, you know what he did? He turned the municipal offices into a brothel. The things that they did in those municipal offices are scary. At least, Chair, Honorable Masipa here is a graduate of university. He understands the importance of working that stage. In conclusion, Chair, we can put all our qualifications here across this house and you will see miracles here. Some of them are leading, but they've got nothing except for matric. In conclusion, I reaffirm the support of the ANC to this policy budget vote, not simply because it embodies our policy commitments, but because it represents an opportunity to translate policy into tangible results of job creation, skills development, fair working conditions, and economic inclusion. Honorable Chair, as I sit down, I want all of us to remember this, that even if you dance in water, your enemies will accuse you of causing dust. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bones Matambo.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Mudise. We are now taking the next speaker, which is Honorable Pinau.
No, unfortunately not. Chairperson, nice to give the chair again. Honourable members, achtbare minister, achtbare deputy minister, my fellow members of parliament and the NCOP, and most importantly, as always, my fellow South Africans. Honourable Modise, you cannot expect me not to say something after that rabble you just spit out here today. It's quite sad. You started off your speech as a DA MP, but you ended it in complete chaos. It's quite unfortunate that we have a critical department such as employment and labor, and the last 10 minutes was wasted on nothing, while millions of people sit at home without work. At the start of the 7th administration, South Africa was hesitantly hopeful. For the first time, the country would not be led by a single party, but by a coalition of parties united in one mission: to rescue South Africa from the wolves at the door. Yes, the road has been uneven, progress has been slower in some ministries and far more forward-thinking in others. But one thing is clear: the wheels of change are turning. The Democratic Alliance has made it clear that job creation and economic growth must be the priority of this government of national unity. And we are pleased to see that the Department of Employment and Labour has, at least in part, taken that ethos to heart. The department's first stated priority is, and I quote, to drive inclusive growth and job creation. They've gone further than that by committing to creating 1 million jobs by 2030, which is, on the face of it, commendable. However, Honourable Chairperson, as always, the devil lies in the detail. We must ask, and rightly so, what kind of jobs are these? And most importantly, are they sustainable? Let's unpack the breakdown of the 1 million projected job opportunities. 650,000 through the National Pathway Management Network, 280,000 through the Public Employment Initiative with no clear description, and 20,000 attributed vaguely to new individuals, whatever that might mean. Honourable Chairperson and members, majority of these are not private sector jobs. They are government-created positions, tax-funded and not wealth-generating. They are not sustainable or economically transformative. These are not the kinds of jobs that restore pride and dignity to millions who are unemployed, as lasting skills are not being transferred to further people's ambitions, hopes, and dreams. This is not economic growth. This is simply moving money from one state department to the other. And now listen closely, Honourable Gericke, please. Taxpayer funds being shuffled within the same system, from Treasury to the Department, to public employees, and back to Treasury as tax. It's like a poorly run recycle plant with lots of movement, but nothing new is being created. We need real employment opportunities created outside of government, not more jobs within it. At times, Chairperson, it feels as though government still doesn't understand how economics work. You do not grow the economy by swelling the public sector. Minister, through you, Chairperson, we urge that the department focuses more on enabling the private sector to lead job creation. Decrease dependency on state employment, do not increase it. The department claims it will engage the private sector, but if that's truly the intention, then it must be said more forcefully and acted on more decisively. Chairperson, my concern is that state dependency is becoming the new policy direction. Let me be clear. Government should serve the people, not more people serving government. Since 2020, over 17 million South Africans have registered for the 370 social relief distress grant. This is not something we should be proud of. It is a sign of desperation. No one can survive on 370 Rand a month. It is temporary relief, not a future, and it cannot hold back the tide forever. We should all be pulling in the same direction to create meaningful employment opportunities and build an investment-friendly environment, not just shifting people from welfare to public sector jobs. Meanwhile, instead of building that environment, the department focuses on punishing small businesses through even stricter employment equity targets, risking becoming a bureaucratic bully rather than a partner in growth. Chairperson, the solutions exist. The department's own data shows unemployment in the Western Cape stands at 19.6%, compared to the Eastern Cape, or the repeater, at a shocking 37.2%. The voters, I will not go into time explaining why these striking differences. The voters already know the reasons. What I will do, however, is encourage the department to pick up the phone and call the Western Cape government. Yes. Ask how they've done it. I am confident they would be more than happy to help. I do not say this, Honorable Gericke, to be arrogant. I say this because we must learn from each other within the GNU if we want to succeed as a collective. In closing, Chairperson, I want to assure the Minister that the DA will hold this department accountable every step of the way. Under the leadership of our Select Committee Chairperson, Honorable Boshoff, we will scrutinize service delivery, and where reform is needed, we will ensure for it. We will be watching, Honorable Minister. Siyabonga, I thank you. Bye, dankie.
Thank you very much, Honorable Pinar. And thank you very much, honorable members. It now gives me pleasure to call upon one of my comrades from home, Honorable Sabia, the Deputy Minister of Employment and Labour. You have 10 minutes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members of the Parliament, the Minister Meth, who's part of us here, the honorable members of the Portfolio Committee of Employment and Labour, and the officials from the department. It's interesting at times, Chairperson, to listen the debate, and you can get carried away and want to respond. But at times you realize that it's just hot air. You don't have to bother yourself with hot air. You must focus on the task at hand. The Assembly is convened ahead of the 2025 International Nelson Mandela Day. Themed, it's still in our hands to combat poverty and inequity. Numerous programs and activities have been observed throughout July to commemorate Nelson Mandela Day, designated as Mandela Month. These commemorative efforts align, Chairperson, with values associated with Nelson Mandela, reinforcing commitments to addressing poverty and inequality and working towards inclusive communities based on justice and reconciliation. Chairperson, the hard-won victories for workers in this country that were achieved when the democratic government took over in 1994 remain an indelible mark in the face of this country. We couldn't be doing justice if we don't salute the work of our government that it has done in shaping the lives of workers in this country. It was out of political will and deliberate stance by the democratic government of the ANC to radically adopt laws that protect workers. Workers remain the backbone of every country that want to be successful. They are the backbone and drivers of the economy. The ANC government understood the importance of adopting the laws that protect workers. On the other hand, making sure that employers do thrive. This balance is very, very delicate, Chairperson. At times, it can be very treacherous in seeing the ANC government out of its visionary and revolutionary morality. It established institutions to mitigate any challenge that can be arising in this space. Whether it is organized labor, business, or community, involved. Institutions like NETLEC are hailed the world over for their capacity and capabilities to facilitate dialogue between government, labor, business, and community organizations. CCMA remains the beacon of hope when it comes to the dispute resolutions at the workplace for both workers and employers. Having peace at the workplace, Chair, is a priority. So to have a thriving economy, it is important to have stability at a workplace. This shows a well thought out process by the ANC government that the democratic government undertook. And even today, that process is still yielding positive results for this greater country of ours. You can see that there is stability at a workplace because of the processes that we went through as the government since 1994. The reality is that a lot has been done in this country by the democratic state at the interest of all citizens, but in particular the black majority, who are the ones that have suffered for many years. Yes, we must agree that there is still a lot that still needs to be done, Chairperson, and it must be done with speed. We all agree to that. Sadly, the doomsayers are getting more ears. Like in any situation where there is crisis, lies are easily acceptable in a society that doesn't demand evidence. We need to deal with the challenge of being a society that doesn't want to be critical on things that are said to us, even by the people that we know they have nothing to offer, and we start to see them as messiahs. No matter how gloom the situation, Chairperson, it might look, but I can assure you that things can be seen as gloom today, but the sun will rise again. We are at work every day. We are committed to jobs creation, worker protection, and a thriving economy that we want to build, which needs a thriving environment for the business also to thrive. We have no choice but to deliver to our people. We want to caution the country that we are seeing a decline when it comes to the organized labor and unionized workers in this country. This will significantly harm workers. Organized labor plays a massive role towards the protection of workers, but also the implementation of our labor laws at the workplace and safeguard these labor laws. But also they bring stability at the workplace. That relationship between the employer and workers represented by unions is very important for any country, especially for the stability at the workplace and the stability of the labor market in this country. We are not just, we are saying workers are not just cogs in a machine, Chair. They are human beings with dignity and worth. Any exploitation of workers is still an indication of oppression by some employers. We need to be hard on inspection and enforcement to address the root causes of inequality and create a more just society. We should prioritize creating good quality jobs with fair wages and benefits. IMF doesn't feature in what I'm saying unless you don't know what I'm talking about. The South African Constitution, Chairperson, enshrines fair labor practices as a fundamental right. Central to labor legislation is safeguarding vulnerable workers and ensuring that their rights are preserved. The Basic Condition of Employment Act, which is BCEA, and National Minimum Wage, support fair remuneration and employment standards. The Decent Work Agenda guides inspectorate-related efforts to prevent job losses. The Medium-Term Development Plan, MTDP, prioritizes tackling poverty and reducing living cost. The Department of Employment and Labor is responsible for the enforcing compliance with labor laws. During the 2024-2025 financial year, Chairperson, 310,798 inspections were conducted, focusing on BCEA, Minimum Wage, and Occupational Health and Safety Act compliance. Employer Services inspectors carried out 30,053 inspections related to Compensation of Injuries and Diseases Act and the Unemployment Insurance Act. Enforcement actions recovered about 1,386,541, of which 78 million addressed wage and salary underpayment. This resulted in direct payment to employees. We are a department at work. We were able, Chairperson, to recover more than 78 million rands from companies that are not complying back to the pocket of workers. And that is work that we are going to continue doing. Employer compliance levels during inspections averaged at 53% across various legislations in 2024-25 financial year, which is not a good sign. We are a country that is not complying, and it needs all of us to start making compliance as a religion. It must come natural. It must be a culture to comply. All of us, even those that believe that they must continue saying things that are dividing this country, they must know that it starts with you to create a better country by avoiding things that can be divisive and destroy this country. Service delivery processes and strategies have been adopted to meet changing labor markets, Chairperson. Collaborative efforts with departments such as Home Affairs, South African Police Services and other institutions have enabled high-impact inspections across sectors. These measures support effective policy implementation. Chairperson, one of the entities that we are having in the department, which is the supported employment enterprises, employ over 1,000 persons with disabilities, with the potential to expand to over 3,000 entities, entities are encouraged to allocate at least 5% of budgets to certain goods and services to SEE, incorporating disability empowerment into public procurement. Even the departments, government departments, all of them, we would want them at least to reserve some of their percentage in terms of their budget and procure from the SEE. Chairperson, I must say that CCMA manages 193,069 cases referrals in 2024-2025, up by 2% from previous years through governance, stakeholder engagements, and collaboration. The CCMA continued its work in labor stability and dispute resolutions. Public sector entities face funding challenges, weak economic conditions. The CCMA depends on government funding and has encountered reductions. Consequently, revenue generation initiatives are being explored as authorized by Labor Relations Act of Act 66 of 1995. Chairperson, we must say that our commitment in building a country that is better is one thing that we're focusing on. We want to make sure that our children inherit a better country than the country that we inherited. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sabia. Honorable members, we now go to the virtual platform where we have the MEC for Economic Development and Labour from the Eastern Cape, the Honorable Peters. You have 10 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Good evening to you, and good evening to the Deputy Chairperson of the NCOP, the Honorable Minister, Deputy Minister, MECs, acting DG.
Honorable Peters, can you put on your video just for a few minutes so that we can see you?
You can't.
No,
my
we
video
cannot.
is on. The same challenge last week. But my video is on.
No, we cannot see you. Can we give you a few minutes to sort that out while I go to the next honorable member? I'll give you a few minutes. We then call upon the...
No, can you see me now, honorable member?
All right, okay, we can see you now. We can see you now. Please proceed.
And I was saying, distinguished guests, manenekas, those who have connected at home, Dames and Yere, Dianibuli Sanonke, Huyenand, good evening to everybody. Can I switch off the camera, Chairperson?
Yes, you may, Honorable.
Thank you.
You may.
Yep. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. The Eastern Cape continues to grapple with a persistent, stubborn, and fluctuating challenge, which is unemployment. The sting of joblessness is felt most acutely by the youth and women of our province. According to the most recent census of 2020, Stats SA 2023, Our population grew by 10.2% between 2021, 2011 and 2022, reaching approximately 7.23 million people. This growing population, juxtaposed with a high unemployment rate, demands urgent, bold and coordinated interventions. Our focus as the provincial government is clear, is to create jobs, build skills and unlock economic opportunities, especially for the most vulnerable. To quote the statesman Uthabo Mvuyelwa-Mbeki, I quote, "Gloom and despondency have never defeated adversity. Trying times need courage and resilience. Our strength as a people is not tested during the best of times," close quote. It is precisely because of our steadfast courage and in partnership with social stakeholders that the province closed the fourth quarter of 2024 with increased employment to 1.45 million. True, although we faced a setback in the first quarter of 2025 of an increase of 2.7% in unemployment, true to the resilience that characterizes the soul of the Home of Legends, we remain on track to our goal of reaching 2.4 million jobs by 2030. Honorable members, our 2023 Provincial Economic Development Strategy is our blueprint for inclusive growth and recovery. It is anchored on a sectoral development agenda that seeks to unlock the potential of 8 high-priority sectors, with particular emphasis on expanding the job absorbing capacity of our economy, especially for youth, women and persons with disabilities, from a low skills base, and driving transformation by broadening asset and capital ownership, income distribution and spatial economic participation in line with our regional competitive strength. The Eastern Cape Province is home to 2 South Africa's oldest and most developed special economic zones, alongside several industrial parks. These strategic assets, coupled with sustained provincial investment facilitation, have attracted 5.4 billion in new investment in the last financial year alone, sustaining over 20,000 jobs. Our pipeline of investments span renewable energy, manufacturing, and the automotive sector. Once implemented, these projects will still significantly absorb a portion of our unemployed citizens, particularly the youth. But our responsibility does not end with creating new jobs. We are equally committed to protecting existing employment. Between 2019 and 2024, our manufacturing companies in distress program supported 396 companies, positively impacting 10,743 jobs. Through our job stimulus intervention, we safeguarded over 5,126 jobs by supporting 192 companies with 91.2 million in financial aid. We also understand the critical role of small businesses in employment creation. Our department supports SMMEs through training, mentorship, incubation, technical assistance, and strategic partnerships with both public and private institutions. As the late Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela once said, overcoming poverty is not a gesture of charity. It is an act of justice. It is the protection of a fundamental human right, the right to dignity and a decent life, close quote. Addressing youth unemployment requires a multi-pronged approach that is strengthening education and skills development by expanding access to quality basic education in rural areas, invest in TVET colleges, and ensure alignment with market demands. Also by boosting youth employment and entrepreneurship. We do that by scaling up public employment programs, support youth enterprises through funding, incubation hubs, and mentorships. Also by promoting local procurement from youth-owned businesses. We're also addressing gender disparities by launching women-focused employment initiatives in male-dominated sectors, enforce gender equity policies in recruitment and workplace practices. Also, we're tackling discouragement and labor market access by establishing youth employment centers, offering career guidance and job matching, deploying mobile outreach services to rural and remote areas by also expanding access to internship and learnerships, especially in public sector. We're also improving data and accountability by tracking local level those who are not in employment, education or training, and unemployed trends to inform targeted interventions, local level need and unemployment trends to inform targeted. We are also driving skills development initiatives through sectoral learnerships and SETA led programs, as it was mentioned here by the Minister, future-focused skills interventions, such as the Tooling Artisan Program launched in 2022 in partnership with national and provincial entities. In the words of the late former Secretary General of the United Nations, Kofi Annan, he once said, young people should be at the forefront of global change and innovation. Empowered, they can be key agents of development and peace. Honorable members, our strategy is not just about jobs. It is about restoring dignity, unlocking potential, and building a resilient, transformed economy, and one that leaves no one behind. I conclude my remarks with the words of the son of the soil, who hails from Graf Reinet in Dr. Beyers Nodia local municipality in Sarabarman district, Africa, who was affectionately known as the Prof, the late Robert Mangaliso Sobukwe, when he said, there is no greater honor than participating in the development of the nation, close quote. As the Eastern Cape government, we support the budget vote 31 for the Department of Employment and Labor. I thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Peters. We now move on to the next honorable member to contribute to this debate, and that is Honorable van den Berg, who has 5 minutes.
Goeienaand, voorsitter, eerbare collega's, belanghebbendes en burgers van die land. Die VF+ is verbind tot 'n arbeidsmark wat ekonomiese vryheid, minimale regulatoriese laste en werkskepping deur die privaat sektor prioritiseer. 'n Arbeidsmark met geleenthede wat alle Suid-Afrikaners, as ook kwesbare groepe soos jeug, vroue en persone met gestremthede insluit. Dit is van kardinale belang dat die Departement van Indiensneming en Arbeid tasbare resultate verseker en nie herhaalde beloftes maak nie. Die VF+ bepleit 'n arbeidsmark wat werker beskerming kan balanseer met ekonomiese groei. Ons ondersteun beleid wat bureaukratiese rompslomp verminder en privaat sektor indiensneming aanmoedig deur belastingverligting en buigsame arbeidswette, maar ook vaardighede wat ooreenstem met markbehoeftes bevorder. Alhoewel ons billike lone ondersteun, waarsku ons teen rigiede minimumloonverhogings wat belegging en werkskepping kan afskrik. Ons fokus op 'n besigheidsvriendelike omgewing waarby werkgewers lewensvatbare winste sien, wat volhoubare werksgeleenthede verseker, sonder oormatige staatsinmenging, en bovenal glo ons in 'n werksomgewing met gelyke geleenthede vir almal, en vra ons vir 'n einde aan diskriminerende, rasgebaseerde BEE-wetgewing. Deur met hierdie beleid te volstaan en selfs te verskerp, is die ANC besig om sy eie legitimiteit te vernietig en sal hy as net nog 'n onderdrukker in die geskiedenisboeke verskyn. The Department of Employment and Labour's budget for 2025-26 is 4.15 billion, up by 7.1%. It funds 4 programs: administration, inspection and enforcement services, public employment services, and labour policy and industrial relations, as well as entities like the UIF, Compensation Fund, CCMA, NEDLAC, Productivity South Africa, and Supported Employment Enterprises, C. Additional allocations include 350 million for the National Pathway Management Network available to privileged Black graduated youth. This reminds me that maybe not all the white people were as privileged as you might think, Honorable Modise. We had to pay for education by ourselves. 62 million is budgeted for G20 employment activities. The FF+ questions whether this spending is prioritizing efficiency and private sector collaboration, Or is it just another bloated public sector program? The compensation and employment funds both face persistent dysfunction, with audit findings and unpaid medical claims, and even recent arrests in Bloemfontein. The FF Plus calls for forensic audits and consequence management to restore trust. Both the select and portfolio committees highlight employment and labour's history of unmet job targets, as well as UIF and compensation fund inefficiencies. South Africa rejects recycled promises, and we can see this at the voting station. Die Vryheidsfront Plus eis 'n arbeidsomgewing wat belegging lok deur buigsame wette en aansporings, nie swaar regulasies nie. Toekomstige minimumloon en arbeidswetwysigings moet strenger geëvalueer word om werksverliese en diskriminasie te vermy. Digitalisasie moet geïmplementeer word om beter beheer en meetbare produktiwiteit te verseker. By die Departement van Indiensneming en Arbeid is daar nog baie skaafwerk nodig. En kom ons rol maar die moue op en ons sit skouer aan die wiel. Ek dankie.
Thank you very much, Honourable van den Berg. We now move on to the next contributor to this debate, and that's the Honourable Masipa. Honourable Masipa, you have 10 minutes.
As Chairperson, Minister, members, South Africans at large. Honourable Chairperson, today's debate on Vote 31, Employment and Labour, takes place against the harsh reality of job crisis that has become chronic in our country. South Africa has one of the highest unemployment rates in the world, sitting at 32.9% in Q1 of 2025. That means over 7.9 million South Africans are without work. And if you include discouraged work seekers, the figure rises to over 11 million. This is a national crisis. Yet this budget is debated while red tape, rigid labor regulations, flawed racial quotas, and misguided policy instruments like BBBEE continue to act as barriers to job creation and investment. We are not just facing a lack of jobs, we are confronting a policy framework that actively obstructs economic growth. While Honourable Modise used the stage to attack the DA, we are not going to stoop down to his level. Let me first turn to the budget itself. Ironically, it is one of the smallest in the national framework. Despite unemployment being our most urgent crisis, the department's core programs such as Program 2, Inspection and Enforcement Services, tasked with regulating employment and non-employment conditions, received 690 million over medium term. Of this 581 million, 84% goes towards compensation of employees. One must ask what value is being delivered for this significant investment in staffing. Program 3, Public Employment Services, meant to assist companies and workers to adjust to changing labour market conditions. It received 683 million rands, with 340 million rands for cost of employment and 280 million rand for NGO transfers. Yet we see little evidence of these services translating into meaningful job placement. Program 4, Labour Policy and Industrial Relations, focus on labour relations research and supporting social dialogue. This received 1.3 billion rands, with 1.09 billion rands going to departmental agencies like the CCMA. These entities may be necessary in theory, but in practice, their work is often duplicated, ideologically skewed, or inefficient. While the UIF has a role to play in addressing challenges of unemployment, the AG has repeatedly flagged issues of irregular expenditure and weak internal controls. House Chairperson, the recent amendments of Employment Equity Act provide a case in point. The introduction of sectoral numerical targets has sent shockwaves across industries. Honourable Modise. especially among farmers and SMMEs. These amendments impose impractical racial targets with little regard for sector-specific realities. I hope the minister was listening, but she's got stuff in her ears, so she can't hear the speech. The process followed in setting these targets was deeply flawed. Targets were not circulated in advance for meaningful engagement. Input from participants were stifled, with questions relegated to chat box and largely ignored. No evidence-based justifications for targets was provided. Agri-Western Cape made a formal submission highlighting how the process violated Section 15A(4) of the same Act. They also argued that Section 15A gives excessive discretion to the minister. Section 27(4) extends the mandate of the National Minimum Wage Commission beyond reason. And Section 53 unfairly penalizes employers even when compliance is impossible. The reality is that most primary agricultural operations are family-run with lean structures and limited capacity for multiple management tiers. Forcing these businesses into compliance with urban-centric quotas, especially with the 50-employee threshold, is not just unworkable, it is destructive. There is still no clarity on whether seasonal workers are counted, placing thousands of farms at risk of non-compliance. All of this points to a bigger issue. The rigid labor environment in South Africa is a major deterrent to investment and job creation. The World Bank's Ease of Doing Business Index previously ranked South Africa poorly in the category of employing workers, one of the key areas where inflexible legislation, powerful unions, and burdensome dismissal procedures discourage hiring. And then there is a BEE, a policy originally intended to redress historical injustices, but which has evolved into a tool of elite enrichment and bureaucratic gatekeeping. After years of enforcement, BEE has done little to reduce unemployment or widen access to economic opportunities. Instead, it has imposed high compliance costs, undermined procurement efficiency, and contributed to South Africa's economic stagnation, with GDP growth averaging below 1% for the past 5 years. We are trapped in a policy cycle, Honorable House Chair, that prioritizes ideology over outcomes. We have over-regulated ourselves into economic stagnation, and ordinary South Africans are the ones who suffer. Chairperson, the Democratic Alliance believes in economic justice, not through punitive racial targets or populist slogans, but through empowering people with the tools they need to thrive. That means supporting small businesses and entrepreneurs, cutting red tape and reforming labor laws to make hiring easier, protecting property rights and securing investor confidence, ensuring the right skills are developed for modern economy. This is the basis of the Growth for Jobs strategy being implemented here in the Western Cape, where unemployment is at least 10% points lower than the national average, where we focus on enabling environments, not punishing policy. Minister, it seems some in your department could benefit from a workshop, and the Western Cape is more than willing to offer that free of charge, Honorable Minister, because let's be clear, job creation isn't about rigid enforcement and ticking compliance boxes. It's about creating policy certainty, restoring investor confidence, and enabling the private sector to thrive. As I conclude, House Chair, let us not forget that the government of national unity is now in charge. Policy and legislation must reflect the collective will of that government, not the outdated dogma of the ANC. The people have spoken. They no longer trust the ANC to govern alone. No longer trust the meanders and meanders. Minister, I urge you to consult with the capable SA ministers from the Democratic Alliance who understand the scale and complexity of our agricultural economy. The Western Cape is responsible for more than 50% of the country's agricultural export and employs close to 270,000 workers in the sector. These are not just numbers. They represent families, communities, and livelihoods. It will be a grave mistake to penalize the one province that continues to deliver growth, jobs, and effective governance. It is cold outside, Minister. You must also be alert of the ideological infiltration in your department, remnants of the EFF and the NCOP who have no interest in growing jobs or building the economy. Their role is purely destructive. They cloak economic sabotage in revolutionary rhetoric, but offer no solutions, only slogans. Let us also not ignore the role of the so-called Prisoners' Alliance. Their obsessions with undermining the DA, despite the facts. Their leader, Gayton McKenzie's failure to deliver on his grand promises, leaving residents in Beaufort West jobless and disillusioned. They have no demonstrable record of economic growth at all. Through you, Chair, Minister, the Standing Committee of Agriculture in the Western Cape has written to you, Minister, requesting clarity on the issues raised in this amendment bill of employment equity. While we fundamentally oppose the current form, we have given you the benefit of doubt to respond and engage, because these issues are not just administrative. They can either enable or collapse our fair trade agreements. Let me remind you, one of the basic requirements of fair trade is legal compliance. If your department makes it harder to comply, then it becomes a deliberate effort to shut down trade and stall economic opportunities. So while we may not oppose this budget outright, we do so with firm reservation. Our support is not unconditional. We will not sit back while ideologues hijack our policies and sabotage the sector that are still sustaining our economy. I thank you, Honourable House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Good evening again, delegates. Minister, the debate continues, and the next speaker at the podium is the Honourable Farmer from the Patriotic Alliance.
Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Minister and Deputy Minister, Honourable Members, fellow South Africans, again I greet you in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Saviour, who died on the cross for our sins. Honourable Boshoff, let me remind you, being the chairperson of our select committee, it is imperative that you should seek to uphold democratic principles. If the majority of the committee supports the budget, that inevitably means that the committee supports the budget. It is a fundamental democratic principle of majority rule. A leader should seek to unite rather than create an impression of division. How sad. Honourable Chairperson, I rise on behalf of the Patriotic Alliance to firmly support Budget Vote 31.
Honourable Farmer, won't you take your seat for a minute, please? Honourable Bartnos, what's your point of order?
On the principle here, as this book allows, this honourable member is causing aspersions on the integrity of the chair of the committee. Majority means she doesn't know, like all of us, who is going to vote for what on the day of the vote. So nobody knows that. So the majority simply means that the honourable chair of the committee is stating to this House that the majority of the people are going to vote in favour of this. But she doesn't know for sure because they still have to vote.
Thank you, Honourable Badenhorst. I do believe that the phrase, the majority in the committee, is an accepted phrase that is regularly used in processing the business of this chamber. It's certainly my recollection that this has been used repeatedly, certainly in the last 6 years that I've been a member of this House. And I do think that the phrase is an acceptable one to use when delivering a speech, Honourable Farmer. So, yes, I do think that your objections are probably misplaced, and you may well indeed be casting aspersions on the intentions of the chairperson of your committee. Can I ask you, therefore, to continue with your speech, please, taking that into account? Thank you, Honourable Member.
Chairperson, while all of this happened, my clock kept on running.
That's okay. No, that's fine.
No, it's not okay. It's not okay.
As far as I can see, the clock is paused, Honourable Farmer.
When you started to rule, he paused it.
Are you fighting in the chair?
Yeah, Confirmed with the table staff that the clock was paused, but please continue, Honourable Farmer.
You paused it late, my brother. Chairperson, because we know that the dignity of our people begins with a job, not a grant. Chairperson, unemployment is not just a number in a quarterly report. It is a daily heartbreak in millions of households. It is the reason young people stand on street corners instead of in classrooms or at work. It is the reason families go to bed hungry despite the promises we make in this house every year. We must confront the hard truth. South Africa cannot afford an employment strategy that works only on paper while our people stand in queues that lead nowhere. Honourable members, this budget must be a catalyst, not a cushion. For real measurable change, the Patriotic Alliance support this budget because we believe it holds the tools to fight unemployment from the grassroots up, strengthening labour centres, fighting exploitation, upskilling for the future, support small business and informal traders. Chairperson, the hustle is real. Township businesses, street vendors and spaza shops are the real backbone of many families. Let us clear red tape, provide microfinance, training and market access, and protect them from crime and extortion. Promote fair labour practices. Let us face facts. Farm workers and outskilled labour is not treated fairly, taxed fairly, and accounted for under the same labour law, especially in the Western Cape. Chairperson, we also demand accountability. Every rand spent from this vote must put our people to work, not line the pockets of consultants or disappear into fruitless plans. We must measure success not by how many indabas we host, but by how many families are lifted out of poverty, how many mothers and fathers can put food on the table with pride, and how many young people no longer dream only of leaving this country, but building it instead. Honourable members, it is time for bold partnerships. Government cannot do this alone. We call for real collaboration with the private sector, unions, training colleges and local governments. Localized procurement. Build community-owned enterprises. Bring the factories closer to the people, not just the people to the factories. Chairperson, if we do not tackle youth unemployment, our democracy stands on shaky ground. Idle hands become targets for gangsterism, drugs and violence. Let us invest in learnerships, apprenticeships, job placement programs, and make sure they deliver more than headlines. We do not want young people to be statistics of despair. We want them to be builders of this nation. The Patriotic Alliance supports this budget vote, but we do so with a message to every official and partner. The time for empty promises is over. Put our people to work. Protect their rights, grow their skills, and open the doors wider than ever before. Chairperson, South Africans are ready to work. They are ready to build. They are ready to contribute. Let us match that readiness with real plans, real oversight, and real results. We stand with this budget because we stand with the worker, the job seeker, the street trader, the young graduate, and the parent who wants only one thing: to work, to earn, and to lift their family up. Let us not betray that hope. Let us match it with action every day in every province until the queues for jobs and social grants is shorter. We are not here to manage poverty. We are here to end it, job by job, worker by worker, community by community. Salute. Thank you for the extra minutes, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Farmer. Honourable members, moving to the virtual platform, we are going to the Northwest Province. The MEC for Public Works and Roads in that province is the Honourable Makua, who has been given a 10-minute slot to speak. Honourable Makua.
Good evening, Chairperson. I hope you